So whenever you want to build a project, of course, you're going to start with the HTML and CSS. Now, before you start with the HTML and CSS, first you need to know what are the requirements. So what do you need in this project? For example, if we take this portfolio example, probably we need some information about you, some of your project, some, for example, contact page and stuff like that. After you define the requirement, what you need to do first, you need to try to design actually your website. In order to design, you already have a Figma account. I think if you do not have a Figma account, it will be a great idea to register for Figma. Now, Figma, you can access it from the browser, or also you can have it as an application. And in Figma, of course, you just click on design file, and after that, you can design your file. Of course, I'm not going to design everything. I've shared with you a tutorial. I think it's 11 hours about Figma. You need to learn everything, but I'm going to show you one of the examples here. So in Figma, you're allowed to create different components. And as you can see in this example, I have different pages for this website. I have home, I have variables, operator, loops, and stuff like that. So it was just how to study this website was about how to study JavaScript. So it was tutorial for JavaScript. Now, when it comes to Figma, Figma is not like Excalibur. Excalibur is simple sketch. Figma is more sophisticated. You can add color, as you can see. So you need to create a really sophisticated design with all the necessary color. You need to be like a real website. You need to define the type of font here, as a size, all the color necessary here, the logo, everything. And as you can see here, you need to do first the design. When you decide the design and you decide all the color you have, the primary color, for example, this color as a logo, everything, and to design how your website look like, then and after then you will start with coding here. But before, first you need to design your website. And you may ask me a question, yes, but some website, I still don't have any idea about this website. Well, you can Google stuff, for example, as for portfolio, Google stuff and see how other people doing their portfolio. Now, learning from other developer, it's a great way to improve yourself. Of course, copying is a really bad idea, but learning from them, it's really great idea. So you can have a look at their portfolio, but not copy everything. No, try to, if you like something, like some part, you can learn from them, and after that, implement it and change it according to your need. But copy pasting, of course, is not going to help you. After you design all your pages here using Figma, as I told you, then we will start coding. Now, I have a very simple website. I did it in the morning. It's just like portfolio. I have a simple logo here, and I have a navigation bar. As you can see, if I hover over it, the color will change and so on. If I click on project, it will just move to my different project here. As you can see, it's very simple. I have simple form here, and I have simple footer here. Okay, now to create this website, how can I create it? Well, of course, I need to go to my VS Code. Now, I've noticed most of you in VS Code, really, you don't need all the time to click on the Explorer. What you need to do here, VS Code, we have a lot of shortcut in VS Code. So if you say keyboard shortcut, and you need to get used to this shortcut, we have thousands of shortcuts which make your life very easy. For example, now I want to open my index.html. All I have to do, if I am on Mac, it will be Command P. If I am in Windows or Linux, it will be Control P. And like that, I know what do I want. Well, that's my file. It show me all the files. So I need the index. Voila. Now I will make it half. That means I need to open the HTML and the CSS. So I'm going to click on this one, click on this guy, also Control P. And now here I can open my index.html or .css here. Let's have a look first on our HTML and see what different element we are using in this website. If you have a question during anything, you can just ask me directly. It's very simple website. It's not that complex. It's very simple. So we have title here, as you can see. I'm linking here just an icon. So if I go back to the website, as you can see, it's simple icon here. You can add any icon you want to here. And of course, we are here adding font awesome because we are using some of these icons in the footer for social media. Other than that, I'm just linking my style, my index.css. Now, I don't have one CSS file. Actually, I have two, but I don't need to import both of them here. Why? Because simply I can import this one inside this index.css, and after that, I can link my index.css only. I think the idea should be clear. Now, let's go to the body, which is the most important part. Now, normally in the body, we should as much as possible, use something semantic tags. And by semantic tag, I mean, for example, we will have a header, of course. Then after that, we will have some content, and it's a great idea to put it in the main. The main is semantic tags. That means it tells the browser, or it provides the browser with more information. It will understand more than the main part. And the footer, of course, header, footer, main, all of them are semantic tags. That means it's easier for the browser to understand or analyze that this is a header and this is the mains and this is a footer. If I go to the head here, now, of course, I need to have a design first, but what I can see from the header, I have two parts here. I have one part here, and I have the second part, which is simple navigation bar. So how can I lay out this part here? So I want an element be here, and I can do an element be here. Now I can use, of course, margin, push this one here. I can use margin, push this here, but it's a really bad way. There is an easier way to lay out my element in this, let's say, to do it this way. Do you have any suggestion? How can I put this element here and the element here? It's just like Flexbox, right?
Space between.
Yes, exactly. So I can simply use a Flexbox here. And the flex, because I'm using the Flexbox here, I need to implement it on the header. So I will click on that. I'm going to inspect my element. I need to know first how my HTML look like. So let me get rid of this toggle here. I'm going to click. So as you can see inside my header here, I have a div. And inside this div, I have just my image. It's always a great idea to put the image inside the div, because like that, I can control it here. And the second one, I don't need to put a div because I have a navigation, and navigation is a block element. That means it's just act like a div. Because I have two elements here inside the header, now I can display my header as a flexbox. I can use flexbox. So if I go to my header now, just say display flex. And of course, as you know, if I display flex here, as you can see, if I click on here, I can play with it with a direction, for example. And now here, everything is set. But if I want, for example, to see my element in column direction, I can click on it. It will show me that. If I want to see the wrap, if I have a lot of element, I can click wrap or no wrap. Here, it will not affect. I don't have a lot of element. If I want to align my element in different position here, start. So here, it will be center. Here, it will be flex start. Here, it will be here. So I just can click on those and change this property and see what will happen to my flexbox here. So actually, let's say this icon here or this flexbox, it helps you to understand more the flexbox. That's fine. That's nice. I've displayed my header as a flexbox. Now, what I want to do here, after I display it as a flexbox here, I need to justify the content. So in row direction here, I need to justify the content. What do I mean by justifying the content? Do I want all these two content to be in the center? No, I don't want to be in the center, because according to my design, I want this one to be on the left side. I want this one to be the right side. So the best way here to just use justify content space between. So if I use center, both of them, they will come to center here. If I use end flexbox, that's not what I want to. So I need to really to use either space between or space evenly or space around if I want some space between this one and this one here. So in my code here, I just specify the adjusted content. I want to be space between them, and voila. They're not moving a lot because I give this div here a width, and I give here a width because I want this one to take small width and I want this one to take more spaces. So if I click on this guy here, it's taking 13% from the parent. All the time when I use 13%, that means it will be 13% from the parent. What is the parent of the div? It's the header. Now the header is 100%, is taking everything. And as you can see here, when I hover over it, notice that my logo is take only 13% and my navigation bar is take 17%. And like that, I have 100%. Is the idea clear? Yeah? No. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to CSS and see how can we style these guys here at HTML. First, so I have a header. Inside the header, I just put my image or my logo here inside a div. And then I have a navigation, but I don't have to put it inside the div because the navigation itself, it's a block element. I'll make an order list and I'll make li is like that. It will be easier for me to control my navigation bar. And here I'm saying if whenever I click on this one, go to an element with ID info or about or project or content. Okay, now I want to add some of my styles. So how can I do that? Well, it's quite simple. First, because I have another file, and this file, I am using it inside the index.css, I need to import it first. So I will say just import /variable.css. So all the variable I need, I put them in one file, and after that, I am importing it first. Why? Because I need to use this variable here. So for example, I'm using this variable. If they are not available, I cannot use them. That's why the reason why I'm importing first. And then here I'm importing so just different font here. One of them is Roboto, and the second one here is Protest Strike. There's a lot of font. You can just go to Google Font and you find them. I will put first, I will start with the general style. So what are the general style? They are style being implemented on a lot of different elements. Most of them by the element tag. That's mean, for example, here I'm just resetting everything. I'm using universal selector, which will be implemented to everything. That's why we call it general styles. The body here is body of my page. H1 and H2, all the H1 and H2 in my website. And that's the reason why we name them general style. So I will put all my general style in one part here, and I will leave a comment like that. Now, after that, I will come to the header. I want now to style my header. So I will leave a comment header, and I will come to my header here, as you can see. I'll just say display flex, justify content. I want to be space between, align item center. So align item center, it will center them in the vertical side. So it will make this one here, this one here. So this space and this space, it will be the same. It will center them vertically from this direction here. Justify content, it's row direction here. So it's horizontal. Align item here, it will be from the vertical side. That's okay. After that, I'm just adding a padding. And to add a padding here, actually, I'm using a variable. So I have a variable for, I give a value 20 pixel because I use 20 pixel a lot. I just put it inside a variable. Actually, it would be a good idea also to show the other file. So let me click on this one and Command P or Control P, and let's go to variables. So what are those variables? So in this variable file, as you can see, I just define the root because I'm defining different variable. I have some fonts. I'm going to use them a lot. That's why I name them font family main, font family secondary. I have some color. I'm going to use them a lot, and color main, color secondary, color red, color white. You can name them better naming, of course, but as you can see, I'm gathering all the color I need to use in my website. Background color, I'm using two of them, this one and this one. That's why I put them in a variable. Margin, I'm using a lot, 20 and 10. And that's the reason why I say dash pixel dash 20, dash pixel dash 10. Of course, you can give them another name if you want to. Here is not a margin really. Here it's just, let's say, yeah, maybe a size or space. So I will just emphasize different size like that. Okay, so I need to use 20 pixel, as you can see, for padding. Why? Because I want my header here. So if I click on it, inspect, and I go to the compute here, the padding here in my header, let's select the header. I have a padding which is 20 pixel, as you can see from all sides. So it's the green one here. I want just to add some padding to the top and the bottom and right and left. So like that, it will be nicer. Simply like that. Okay. After that, now when I come to the header here, like notice I've give this one a class. So I've used as a header because I'm using the tag header dash container. And that's actually one of the convention we use, which is called beam. Now, beam, the idea of, it's just like convention to name your classes. I can use the parent one. What is the parent of this one? It's header, then I say dash, and I will name this one container. If I can make it image container if I want to. So it's two word header. Now I know it's belong to the header, and then the container here. Maybe the container is not a good naming because it will be better actually to name it image container. So I can name it header dash image underscore container. So if it's two naming, I will start with the parent here, which will be header, then the container. If I have another name, I will use underscore as a convention. And I will use, for example, img for image. Currently, I don't need anything like that. So it's obvious for me now, it's a header, it's a container. I will, okay, header container. I want the width to be 13%. Remember, using the relative unit, it's much better than the absolute. Why? Because it's help us more with responsive design. So I can give this one width with pixel, but pixel, it will always be the same width here. But 13%, it will depend on the parent. The parent is the header here. If the header on my screen here, when I make it smaller, now the header, it becomes the size, it becomes smaller. That means 13%, it will be smaller. That means this is my website here. By default, it will be more responsive. My header, it will be more responsive. It will be better for responsiveness. Okay. Now I want to select the image. To select the image here, as you can see, the image here, it's inside my class here. I don't need to add another class to my image. But how can I select it? Wait, the image is the child of this class, so all I have to do just header container space image. That's the descendant selector we studied. After that, I can give a width to my image, and I give it a border radius 15% if I want to. I need to add some style to navigation bar here. So navigation bar also, I don't need to give it a class because I have one nav in my whole website, so I don't need really. I can select it using the element and say width is 17%. Now, if I want to access the UL here, I don't also need a class. I can just say nav space UL. That's mean all the UL inside the navigation here, but I have only one. So I'm selecting it. List style none because I don't want this bullet. Because whenever I create a list, I have like a bullet. I don't want them. I want to display them flex and justify content flex end. Why flex end? Well, because if I go here to my flex box, as you can see here, the space for the navigation here, it's 17%. I don't want them to go to the middle here. I want them to go to the all the way to the end. And that's the reason why I give flex end here. That's okay. And now I want the LI here, I want to give them a margin right. A margin right, why? Because to give some space between this one and this one and this one and this one. So here is the margin here. So I'm just giving it margin right. And of course, because it's 20, I'm using this value a lot. I can just use my variable. For the A tag here, I need to select the A tag for all of them. I don't want text decorations. That means the A tag here, normally by default, it has like underscore under it. I don't want it. For the color, I can use one of the main colors. So my main color here, it's white, FFF. I can use the variable. Font width here, it make it, see if it's bold or not bold. I want the font width to be 300. By the way, I also can create some variable to store the font width. 300, 200, 400, 600, and so on. So the variable here are very useful. Why? If there is anything you are repeating on your website, it's a great idea to create a variable and store this value. Like that, if you want to change the value at some point in your website, you don't have to come into 100 places and change it. You can only change it in one place. And that's simply how it is. Of course, just hover. When I hover over it, I want the color to be red, and the font size here, I want it to be 19 pixel. So as you can see, everything related to the header, I just put small comment and here. And now if I have any bug in the header, it will be easier for me to come and find it because all the style related to the header, it's here. I can find it very easily. I've noticed some of you also, while you are looking into your file, you are just trying to search for class doing that. You don't really need to do that. In VS Code, if you type command F, you can find here. So for example, I'm looking for label or form or something, just type form and voila, it will highlight it for you. It will show you how many form 1 of 1. That means you only have one form. And voila. So you really is just Control F on Windows or Command F on Mac. You can just find your class much more easily. We've done this one, that's fine, that's okay. And as you can see, my header is very simple. I don't have a lot of div, I don't have a lot of classes. I don't need that. So I'm gonna close my header. After I close my header, I have something called main. And in the main of my website, as you can see, I have three parts, actually 3 sections. Now inside the main, because I want 3 parts, it's a great idea to use section. And section also, it's a semantic tag. It just create a section for me. So I have 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections. Section by default, I don't need to add any style to main here. They will appear like in the top of each other. So I have section 1, and after that I have section 2, then I will have section 3. Voila, I can add some space between both of them if I want to, and then I have a footer. It's very simple. Now, what do I want to do here? The first section here, I finish the header, it will be info. So what I want here, when I click on the info in the navigation bar, I want my website to scroll to this info. Or when I click on the project or the contact, I want my website or my page to be scrolled to this content. In order to do so, I need to give my section an ID. Why? Because in my navigation bar, I'm saying here, whenever there is an A tag, If I click on the A tag, it take me to this href here, which will be an ID info. That's why I give it an ID info. By the way, you can have an ID and a class with same name exactly. It doesn't matter. Project, because this one is a class, this one is ID. And I'm not using the ID. I'm just using the ID just when I click on the element, I wanted to scroll to this part here. Rodica, and your project is not scrolling, by the way. So now here, if I click on, what's my navigation? If I click on project, well, now it moved to project, as you can see. And that's what I want to actually. If I click on contact, it will take me to the contact. Scroll down to the contact. That's okay, that's fine. What do I want? An info. So let me close the header and go to the info and see what do I have inside info. Inside the info, I have just very simple stuff. I just have H1 and I have a P tag, that's it. But inside the info, I want to add some style. I want to control the height. So what I want in the info, I want to show it here a little bit big. So to show it a little bit big, I can give it a height 700 pixel or something like that. So now here in this case, I give it 700 pixel. And after that, I just have the H1 and I have this guy here, which is simple text. Let's go to my style. What did I do? Just give it background, just background here. It's just background image here. Ramia, you asked me what's the difference between background and background color. Background color is only change the color, but with background, you can use multiple different value. For example, if I put the color, it will be implemented. If I put the URL, it will be implemented. This one is more general. Background color is more specific. The size, I want to cover everything. Position, it will be centered. I want to display flex as well. Why? Because I want this element and this element on the top of each other. And also I want them to be in the center exactly. So I want these two guys to be in the center. In order to do so, I need to use flexbox. And when I use a flexbox here, if I inspect again, and now I get right here, I go to this section. Inside this section, I have only two elements. I want these two elements to be in the center. In order to do so, if I say display flex and I say justify content center, it will make it here in the row here, because the display is flex direction is row by default. It will make it here. It will center it according to the row axis here. And if I say align item center, it will center it according to the vertical axis here. So it will just center these two guys in the middle, vertically and horizontally. And that's what I want. Is the idea clear? Yes, no.
Yes.
Good. Now I will go to my project here. It's not something complex, it's something very simple. If I go to section, which is called my project here, if I click on it, I have a div and I have H1. And the question here, why did I separate the H1 from the div here? What's the reason why? Well, if I click on this, my project, I'm using grade actually. So let me go to the style here. So as you can see, I am using grade here. Now, if I use a grade and I put the H2 inside it, it will mess up with my style. I don't want that. So I don't really want this guy here inside the container, because I want to style or make the layout of my project here using the grade here. And to use the grade, if I put the H1 here inside this container here, it will just affect my style. It will not be organized well. That's not what I want to. And that's the reason why I put the H2 out, because it's just a title. And here I created a new div, which is called project cards, dash cards. And inside them, I have a div. And for each div here, it's just a project card. All of them have the same class because it's the same style. Now, inside this project card, I only have H3 and a P tag here, some text. Of course, you can add an image if you want to for your project, to show your project. You can add a link to, so it will link to your GitHub. Whenever you click on a button, it will go just to your GitHub profile, something like that. You can do all of that if you want to. Now, what's interesting for me here, it's this div, why I am using a grid. Why do you think I am using the grid? Why I'm not using a flexbox here? Any idea? So I have 6 projects, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to be able to control them from this side, horizontally and vertically. So the x-axis and the y-axis, I want to be able to style them in both axes. Am I allowed to do that in using the flexbox?
No,
Why?
because in grade you have more control over how you style it. You can even do it in the F1 in columns and in rows.
Yes. So if I'm using the flexbox, I will be able to control them either in row direction or in column direction only. I will not be able to control both sides here. So I will not be able to control this. I will have one of these two options. Either I will be able to control them in the row like that, if the flex direction is row. But if the flex direction is column, I will be able to control my element from this direction. So it's really not good for me. In better way here to style it, I can use a grid. Why? Because the grid here is two-dimensional. That means I will be able to control my rows, and I will also be able to control my column like that. And that's the reason why I am just using here a grid here. So I'm just adding some margin to my container here, just few simple margin, which would be 10 with 20, just to give you some margin. After that, I'm displaying a grid. And also when you display grid, as you can see, you have this box and you can play with it here, align content. So align content here, it will show where to contact your element. Justify content here, it will be in the row here. How do you want to justify them? Align item here, it will be from the vertical side or the column. And justify item, how do you want to justify your item here? Do you want them center, or do you want them to the left or to the right? Of course, my boxes, I give them great size. So even if I implement these properties, I will not affect. My box must be smaller to see them. But I don't want all of that. What I want to do here, I just want to display grid. How many row do I need? Well, I have 6 projects. That means it will be a great idea only to show 2 rows. Why? Because this one, it will be 3, and this one, it will be 3. That will be enough. Now, if I show it in 3, let's, for example, just say I want to show them in 3 row and 3 column. Just click on this one. If I do so, and I click on this one now, if I go to my grid here, where's my grid? Notice that it's add another extra row, but that's actually, it's not used really. So my grid here, I have an extra row where I'm not using. So it's not smart really to use 3 rows. I'm just using 2 rows and 3 columns. So just all you have to do, just grid template row. How many rows do you want? Well, I want 2. And I'm using this function repeat. As you can see, I want to repeat it 2 times, 1 fraction. I told you the fraction, what it's going to do, it will take the space and take the middle of this space, and middle of this space, it will be 1 fraction. For the column here, I want 3 columns, as you can see. So I will say 3, 1 FR. I want just 3, as you can see. I want to add a little bit gap between them. So to add a little bit gap here, this one, it will be for the row. I make it 20 pixel. And here, this one will be column. By the way, I don't need to add 2 value. If both the value is the same, I just can add only 1 value for both of them. So 1 value, it will work as well. And like that, it will style my project according to my need. I'm styling vertically and horizontally. There is a little bit gap between them. And yeah, that's simply how it is. Is the idea a bit clear? Yes? No?
Yes.
Good. Now remember, yeah.
And if you want to make it responsive, so after that, if you will have a smaller screen, you will put like 2 columns and more rows, or?
Yes. So if I am in a very smaller screen, what I can do is actually try it. If I'm in a smaller screen like that, let's say I want 3 rows. I don't want 3 columns, so because it's been distorted. So what I can do here, I can come here. Of course, you need to be inside your media query. So how many rows now I want? Maybe 3 or 4 maybe. I'll make them 4. And how many column do I want? Well, maybe I need 1 or 2. So I need to change this value into, let's make it 2 first to see. 2. Yeah, it's a little bit better, as you can see. Voila. Now here, if you even on smaller screen here, I don't really want them 2. I want now 1. So I will come here and I will do this one. And here for the row, probably I will need 6 because they are 6. So 6 like that. And as you can see, they are quite nice and it's easy to use really. Yes, I did not implement the responsiveness, but you can see how can you use a flex but, and also the grid make it really easy to make your website responsive. Is the idea clear?
Yes.
Good. Let's go back. And in here, I just have very simple contact form. It's the same idea. I just created simple section. So the info that's before we go to this one, here is the info. I have H1 and P tag. So I'm just selecting my info. Then if I want to select the H1, just info space H1, info space P. I have a comment which show me where's the info to make everything easy. Now I am in my project. The project is the same idea. I'm selecting the project. I'm just adding height because I want my container to have specific height. Some padding, some box shadow, something normal. If I want to access the H2, because inside the project I have H2 actually, which is the title. That's my H2. And after that, if I want to access this div here, which I give it a class project dash cards with S, and here I'm implementing my grade. That's style here, it will be implemented for all project card because all of them are similar. Inside each one of them, I have H3 and P tag, and voila, simply like that. Now, if I go to the contact, let's see what do I have in the contact. I have another section, and in the contact, I just also have a title, which is called H2, and then I have a form. Inside my form, I have a label for each element I want to, then I have an input type text. I have another input for the email. I have another text area here just to the message, then I have a button. That's all I have. It's not biggie. So all I have to do now in my form here, I'm displaying my form as a flex as well. Why? Because I want to show this input here so it will be in as a column. I will have my input here. I have the second input, and then I want the text area, then I want the button. And that's the reason why I displayed flex and flex direction column. You can here just some font size and margin for those for text area also. For the bottom, just some color. And of course, the bottom has an hover here, background color when I hover over it. It's very simple. It's not complex. And if I hover over it, so I have a little bit and different color, as you can see. Of course, if I go back now here to this guy, there's a reason why I make my form display a flex. It's not just to show them as a column, because by default, there will be a column actually. But the reason why I'm doing that, because I want to make my form in the middle. So I try to center it in the middle because I don't want my form to be very big. So what I can do here, I can just say a form with 13%. That means it will be 13% of the parent, which will be here as a contact. If I say 13%, the width will be very small. It will not be big. A flex direction, I say column justify content. I want him to be in the center and align item center. And like that, my form here, it will come to the center horizontally and also vertically. So I want to put this one in the center exactly. I don't want to be very big. And that's simply how we do it. With just few property, and now everything is being aligned. For the footer, it's very, very simple. I just have a div for social media because I want to put my social media, and then after that, I want to put these whatever, what do you call this one? Copyright. Okay, for my copyright here, which is BP tag here. So also I'm displaying this one flex because I want to be in the top of each other, and also I want to center them vertically and horizontally. That's the reason why I use flex box. And all I have to do here, if I go to my this guy here, so I have flex direction column, justify content center, align item center. It center my both element in the center exactly, and that's what I want. If I go back to my HTML, I don't have a lot of element. I don't have a lot of unnecessary classes. Everything is divided. Everything is really organized. Like that, it will be very easy to read and debug. Also, if I go to my CSS, everything is being commented. Everything, as you can see, it's small. I don't have 1,000 line of CSS because I don't need them. I just need the simplest way to do it, actually. After that, my responsiveness is here. And whenever I want to implement the responsiveness, of course, all the time, I can just click on this one. And after that, for example, let's do it on the tablet, for example, like that. And when I click on the tablet here, I will go to my responsiveness here for the tablet, which I think it's this one. And then I will change my property until I am happy. Simple? Yes? No?
And with the responsiveness, so you have to write it down like at the end, or after each section you have to do the responsiveness?
Responsiveness, always we add it at the bottom, like that, all the time. So the structure of this one, that's why I did this small project, because the structure is always the same. All the time, if you have some file, you need to import them, some font, stuff like that. You need to implement general styles, and you start with the first item here, which is in the main here, which is called, I'm sorry, is the header here. So I'm starting with the header. When I finish with the header, I'll do the info. Main, notice main here, I don't have any style for it. So I say main, then info. Then I will go to the project, then the content, then I will go to the footer. And after that, at the end, I have the responsiveness. And because I built here desktop first, as you can see, I am using max width 2560. That's for large screen. That's for desktop. That's for laptop, for tablet. And now Remember something, if you are implementing the media query and you want to change one of the property, for example, let's say I want to change this contact here. And I want something just visual. Yeah, let's for example, the project here. When I am on tablet, I want the height not to be 800. I want the height to be, for example, 400. So I need to copy the same class exactly. It must be the same selector. And now I will go down, 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 down. Where is my tablet? My tablet is this one. And I will use the same class here, project. And I need to use also the same property, which was the width. Now I'll take it 400 pixel. Clicky. And now if I go to that, now I am in tablet. Now the height of what element it was project, the height has been changed. It will not be 800 pixel now, it will be 400 pixel as I define. Is the idea clear? Yes? No? Yeah? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay. What did I do project? Yeah. So as you can see here, when I make it 400, now the media query has been implemented, max width 768, and it's telling me the width is 400. Voila. So this one, it will be implemented. As long as the width is between 768 and 425. This style, it will be implemented. Remember all the time, if you want to change any property here, you need to use the same class, the same selector, you use it here. For example, again, if I want to change something in info to make it responsive, I need to select the same class, same selector, and put it here and change whatever property I want to. I need to use the same property here. So for this property, I'm not happy with it. I will use the same property exactly here, and then I will change it according to my need. Is the structure of the file now is clear, how you can structure your HTML, CSS? How can you put your variable in a different file? Always, it's a great idea to put them in a different file. And after that, import it at the top. Unlike that, if you have a font family, use it a lot, you can just store it in a variable. Because later on, if you want to change this font family, he did not put it in a variable, you have to change it in 100 or 400 places. It will be really annoying. In this case, no, I can just change it in one place. And remember also, when you're working in a large project, you'll not be alone. So will be a lot of developers working with you. And if all of you use like inline property here, it will be really a mess. And most of probably you'll make mistakes because if you are different people. So a better solution, it will be first to add all the convention you need to use. For example, what font family mainly you want to use, what's the secondary one, what color we're gonna use, the main color, what's the secondary color. For example, here, red is not a good name. I can name it, for example, red. I can give it a degree 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. White 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these property we're gonna use for the whole website, we can put it in one file. Unlike that, for me, I can import this file and I can use it. Same for my colleague can import this file and use it. Unlike that, our project will be easier to use and we will not have a lot of problem. Yes, no. No answer. You did not understand it? That's me, no.
No, it's fine.
Did you understand how you structure your file now?
Yes.
Very good. Try all the time to make your HTML, use semantic tag. Here, if your main as different part, you can use section if you want to. Do not use the div. Div is non-semantic element. Section is a semantic element, actually. You give more or provide more information for your browser. Try all the time for your CSS, try to divide it into different parts. First, you have general style, and then go down, and your media query should be at the bottom, as you can see, like that. Now, a great idea, actually, it will be also to store this value here in a variable. So, for example, instead to say 2560 pixel, I can store it in a variable, and then I can use this variable. But unfortunately, CSS does not allow us to do so, because we cannot use a variable here. But if you are using SAS or less, with this preferred processor, you'll also be allowed to use variable in media query. And if I was allowed to use that, I can just say, for example, here, I can add a comment and I say, for example, screens. And now I can store this one in variables, this one in variables, this one in variables, this one in variable, and so on. For example, large screen, And then I say desktop, then I can say laptop, then I can say tablet, then I can mobile, minus L for large, minus medium for medium, minus S for small, and I can replace this value here with my variable. It will be just better for my code, but as I told you, CSS does not allow us to so. Any question? Yeah? No? Zero question? Okay, of course, don't forget to create a public folder. As you can see, all my image here inside the public folder, and I can link my image here. We have also folder called source for not for now, it will be later for JavaScript. My style here inside one folder called style, and as you can see, I have two files. I import this file inside the index because I want to use this value inside the index. And then I need to just link my index. That's it. That's everything from my side. If you have any question, you can ask. If not, I will allow you to continue